Okay, here we go. So part 6.1, 6.2, part 2 notes. Here we go. So now you need to be able to read your unit circle. So pretty much what's going to happen is this is a circle and your radius is 1. Therefore, your sine comma cosine is pretty easy to figure out because you remember your x comma y is just cosine theta, sine theta, and our tangent is sine over cosine. Okay, so if you know those three things, the rest of this should be a piece of cake. All right, so that means, let's just talk about this real fast. This is a 0 degree, it's a 0 radian. This is 30 degrees, which is also a pi over 6 radian. 45 degrees, pi over 4, 60, pi over 3. There's a better chart online that I posted for you guys, so you guys can just use that one, but this is just easier for my notes. This is 90 degrees, pi over 2. And again, it goes all the way around, okay? If the point falls on the y-axis or the x-axis, it's called a quadrantal. And they're your big ones, 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, okay? Or 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. I should probably put 2 pi there because it's not on there. Okay, so if you're going to read your unit circle, and I could ask you to find me, I say find the sine of 45 degrees. Okay, so you come to 45 degrees, you know your sine's the y, so this would just be radical 2 over 2. Okay, I could ask you to find me the cosine of 5 pi over 2. I'm sorry, 5 pi over 4, sorry about that. So you're going to come all the way to here, and again, your cosine's your x-coordinate, so it's going to be negative radical 2 over 2. Okay, now when I ask you to find the tangent, so let's find the tangent of 11 pi over 6. So that means I'm coming to here. My cosine is radical 3 over 2. My sine is negative 1/2. Remember, tangent is sine over cosine. So my sine is negative 1/2. I'm going to divide that by radical 3 over 2. So remember, it's negative 1/2 divided by radical 3 over 2. When you divide fractions, it's stay, change, flip, so it's negative 1/2 times 2 over radical 3. These guys cancel, giving you negative 1 over radical 3. And again, your book does want you to rationalize your denominator, so you have to multiply top and bottom by radical 3, which will give you negative radical 3 over 3. All right, so now let's use this unit circle to fill in this chart. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just go down and convert everything to degrees. So 0 radians, this should not have this thing there. So 0 radians is also 0 degrees. Pi over 2 is 90 degrees. Pi is 180 degrees. 3 pi over 2 is 270 degrees. And 2 pi brings us back to 0 or 360 degrees. 30 degrees is pi over 6. 45 degrees is pi over 4. And 60 degrees is pi over 3. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so and again, I just read the chart. All right, you can use your formula to convert from degrees to radians or radians to degrees, but we have a chart, so let's just go from there. All right, so the sine, I'm going to go across now. So I'm going to start with my radians and my degrees at 0. So I'm using 1 comma 0. The sine is your y. The cosine is your x. Your tangent is your sine over your cosine. So 0 on the top is a 0. Your cosecant is the reciprocal of your sine. So it's going to be 1 over 0, which is undefined. Secant is your reciprocal of cosine, so it's still 1. And your cotangent, again, is going to be undefined because it's a reciprocal of tangent, which is 1 over 0. All right, pi over 2, which is 90 degrees. I'm using 0, I'm using 1. All right, so your sine is your sine is 1. Your cosine is 0. Your tangent is sine over cosine, which is undefined. All right. Your cosecant is the opposite of sine, so is 1. Your secant is the opposite of cosine, which is 1 over 0, which is undefined. And tangent is going to be 0 over 1, so it's going to be 0. Pi, now we're here at 180. Your sine is 0. Your cosine is negative 1. Your tangent is sine over cosine, which is 0. Your cosecant is now undefined. Your secant is still negative 1, and your cotangent is also undefined. All right. 3 pi over 2 is 270 degrees. So that's here. So I'm using 0, negative 1. Your sine is negative 1. Your cosine is a 0. Your tangent is sine over cosine, which is undefined. Your cosecant stays negative 1. Your secant becomes undefined. And your cotangent becomes 0. And then your 2 pi is your exact same thing as 0. So I can just fill that in. All right, so now the little bit more work here is dealing with these angles, these radians. So pi over 6 and 30 degrees is here. Here's my x, here's my y. So this is my cosine and my sine. So your sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. Your cosine is radical 3 over 2. Your tangent, I'm going to do a little side work here. Your tangent is sine, which is 1/2, divided by your cosine, which is square root of 3 over 2. So it's 1/2 times 2 over radical 3. These cancel, which is 1 over radical 3. I'm going to leave it as 1 over radical 3. If it was entering in your book, you'd have to rationalize the denominator, giving you radical 3 over 3. Cosecant, this is going to give you 2 because you're the reciprocal of the sine function, so you just flip it. Secant is going to be 2, oh my goodness, pencil, over radical 3. Again, I'm leaving it like that. If it's in your book, you have to rationalize it. And then your cotangent would just be a radical 3. All right, next one, 45 degrees. So your sine is radical 2 over 2. Your cosine is radical 2 over 2. Your tangent is radical 2 over 2. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm running off the paper. Divided by radical 2 over 2, which gives you radical 2 over 2 times 2 over radical 2. Everything cancels, leaving you a 1. Your cosecant is going to be 2 over radical 2. Your secant is going to be 2 over radical 2. And your cotangent stays as 1. All right, one more in this table of fun. Pi over 3, 60 degrees, is here. So my sine, radical 3 over 2. My cosine, 1/2. My tangent is radical 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, which would be radical 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. These cancel, leaving you radical 3. Cosecant theta would be the reciprocal of this, so it's going to be 2 over radical 3. Secant would be a 2, and your cotangent's 1 over radical 3. All right. Moving right along. All right, so find the exact value of the following. All right, sine of 5 pi. So what you're doing here is this is 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi. So here we are. So your sine would be 0. Okay. Your tangent of 2 pi, here it is. It's going to be 0 over 1, which is also going to be 0. The cosine of 210 degrees. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see both. The cosine of 210 degrees. So you find 210 degrees, which is here. Your cosine is your x, so it's negative radical 3 over 2. Tangent of 315. So here is 315, which is square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2, which would give you negative 1. Cosine of negative 540. All right, so with the negative 540s, again, this means it's going around your calculator more than one time, so it would be negative 540 plus 360, which would give you, oh, what did I do? Oops, I'm so sorry. Negative 540 plus 360 would give you a negative 180. So that means negative 540, I went around once, and then I ended here. So I'm still at negative 10. So the cosine would be negative 1. Sine of 5 pi over 4. So 5 pi over 4 is here. Your sine is your y value. So it's going to be negative radical 2 over 2. Cosine of 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2 is here. Cosine is your x, so it's 0. Tangent of 11 pi over 6 is here. So it's going to be negative 1/2 divided by radical 3 over 2. So it's going to be, negative 1/2 times 2 over radical 3. These cancel, which would give you negative 1 over radical 3, which again, if I'm grading it, I would accept that answer, but your book wants you to rationalize the denominator, so it's negative radical 3 over 3. All right. Using a calculator. So your trig functions on the yellow calculator are second trig, and then you can only put sine, cosine, or tangent in. All right, so that's where they are. So if they're asking you for, and you have to make sure you're in degrees. So in the mode button, right now I'm in radians. See, I'll highlight it. I have to make sure I'm in degrees. Hit enter. Now I'm in degrees. I can do second trig cosine of 15. That's going to give you 0.97 because it says 2 decimal places. All right, now it's pi over 12. That means I'm in radians, so I have to go back to my mode, put me back in radians, and then second trig tangent of pi over 12, and that's going to give you 0.27. And then secant, you can't put into the calculator, and again, it's still in radians because there's no degree sign. So your secant is 1 divided by the cosine of 10. So you're going to do 1 divided by trig cosine of 10, and you will get negative 1.19. There you go. All right. Last one. Find the exact value of 6 trigonometric functions. Okay, here it doesn't say anything about the unit circle, so you'd have to solve to find the third side. So, positive 3. Oh my goodness. Negative 4. Okay, so here's your triangle. So this is 3, this is negative 4. Now you have two options here. Know your triangles, or 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, gives you 25, making this third side of 5. Okay, so now we just have to find our 6 trigonometric functions of the angle. So remember, this is the angle you're talking about, and you need your sine of theta, which would be the opposite over the hypotenuse, your cosine of theta, which is your adjacent over your hypotenuse, your tangent of theta, which is your opposite over your adjacent. And now we have to deal with our cosecant of theta, which is negative 5 over 4, our secant of theta, which is 5 over 3, and our cotangent of theta, which is negative 3 over 4. Good job.